Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts College Football Podcast, your ticket to all things college football. Are you looking to get your college football fix? Looking to get the latest news on your favorite school's team? Join us as we talk college football, from the national championship to college rivalries to bowl games to the Heisman Trophy to which conference is the best. We've got you covered for the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and everything in between.
What is up? Welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast on a Monday today here. My name is Tom Dougherty, your host, which means this is the college football edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, which as always is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Starting our week off with a little bit of talk on recruiting. I mean, it's kind of the little lull before the storm, the calm before the storm of our football season, as we are basically a month away. I mean, we are going to be seeing a lot of, NFL-wise, we're going to be seeing preseason games. No preseason in college. The college kids don't need 4 games to get ready for a season. They just need a nice little training camp and little sessions to get going, which we'll be seeing get started across the country as kids start getting back to campus, and we get some fall practices going before we see week 1 of the college football schedule, which is September 1st, actually, and we'll have our opening week, which is going to be jam-packed with a bunch of games. I mean, we're going to have, we talked about it last show on Friday where I did my picks for week 1. Obviously, we're going to have Washington, Auburn. We're going to have Louisville, Alabama. We're going to have Florida State and Virginia Tech. I'm trying to think. There's more of them. Notre Dame and Michigan. So it's going to be full of top talent, and 2 big games. I think the two biggest games is that Notre Dame, Michigan, with the most implications to the CFP. Notre Dame, Michigan, and then of course the Washington and Auburn game, which is going to be down in I think in Dallas. As of course Jerry World's got to be the host for everything. We got to get into Jerry Jones. I mean, guys, he built a $3 billion or $2 billion stadium, and now it literally every game. If it's not in Georgia at the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium, it's at the Cowboy Stadium in Dallas. Like we just saw, the NFL draft was there a couple weeks ago. All right, so compare, and then looking at other things that are happening in Dallas. Actually, it's going to be in Frisco, actually, which is up where the new Cowboys training facility is in Frisco, Texas, which is just a few minutes north of downtown Dallas. Because the stadium is actually in Arlington, which is in the middle of Fort Worth and Dallas, to the west side of Dallas. So just going to give you a little geography lesson there, guys. In Frisco is going to be over this last weekend. It started on Saturday. It's going to end tomorrow. It's called Nike's The Opening. So it's a big camp that is going to put some of the top prospects in front of coaches. And I mean, a lot of these guys, I mean, these days with Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you can go type in I just saw this tweet from a recruiting coordinator, or I think it was a recruiting coordinator, was a coach for a basketball team. It's kind of the same. I mean, it's not necessarily always the same when it comes to recruiting for basketball versus football, but in college sports, I mean, it's like, you got to make yourself seem the most appealing to this player coming out of high school. He's 17, 18 years old, and he's making a decision to start his life off, start off of his athletic career. But like in basketball, this coach tweets like, prospect, coach, you're sleeping on me, coach. How long is your highlight video? Oh, it's like 2 minutes long. Okay. How much work have you put in this summer? Oh, I'm taking a quick little break. Okay, we'll see you next year or never, because it's just the competition is astounding. It's ridiculous. I mean, obviously, there's plenty of schools to choose from, and plenty of positions to fill, especially in football. Obviously, football, you have 70 kids on a school, on a squad versus 15 or 20 maybe, with a couple rotational players for a college basketball team. So it's a little bit different in the comparison, but this is the football show. Tom, why are you guys talking about basketball? Because there's another big story in basketball. I know this is still a football show, but if you guys haven't been living under a rock, we all know that the sports world will never be the same, as LeBron James is headed to Los Angeles to play basketball next year for the Los Angeles Lakers as he leaves Cleveland for the second time. But again, going back to the recruiting thing, I just had to say that. Of course, I had to say that it's required almost of any sports pundit to bring up LeBron, because this is, I mean, it is momentous. It is pretty momentous, and maybe we'll talk about some guys here on this show that it's gonna be tough for a football player to get up to the heights of LeBron, just because of the difference in star-studded qualities, and how, like I said, Kawhi Leonard can ask for a trade, but Aaron Rodgers is locked up and can't go anywhere, and if he wants to leave Green Bay, they can just franchise tag him if they wanted to. So just this differences between being visible in the NFL versus being the number one star in the NBA, like he is. So going over to the college level of it, as we have that the opening camp is going to be down in Texas. It's going on right now. It's going to be 162 of the top high school players going down to play, as they're going to be doing a lot of different challenges and workouts with stuff like that. 7-on-7 tournament, which is going to be pretty cool too. So as far as the players we're going to see there, we have one of the most sought after players who has not committed yet. This is the number one ranked overall prospect for the 2019 recruiting class. One is Kayvon Thibodeau. We talked about him, I think, a few weeks ago when I was going over some of the guys to look out for in this 2019 draft class, in this 2019 recruiting class. We're not to draft yet. 2019 recruiting class, as Kayvon Thibodeau will be one of the 11 ESPN 5-star recruits that will be at this showcase over the weekend. So, I mean, they've been there since Saturday, so they're there today and tomorrow as well. So, as far as Thibodeau, though, he's a 6'5", 235-pound defensive end from California. He's not committed yet, still considering Alabama, still considering LSU, Washington, Florida State, Michigan, UCLA, USC, Clemson, Oregon, Georgia, Florida, and Oklahoma. So, basically, all your red-blooded, true blue-blooded college programs. I mean, literally every one of them. I mean, the only one I'm missing is Ohio State. Like, how did Ohio State miss out on this guy? I guess Urban Meyer didn't feel like getting thrown in the pool with everybody. I mean, you got Nick Saban at Alabama, LSU, that's Ed Orgeron, Washington, Chris Peterson, Florida State, Willie Taggart, Jim Harbaugh, Clay Helton. I mean, now it's interesting because UCLA. So he was deciding on UCLA. So you would think, okay, Jim Mora, okay, maybe I'm better with Chip Kelly at UCLA. Obviously, a great recruiter in Dabo Swinney at Clemson. I think that's honestly, if I was going to pick a team, if he is willing to go out of California, so if he doesn't go to UCLA or USC, he might go to, I would say USC is my number, I think, for him, because for a guy who hasn't picked yet, which means he's probably a little bit wary on leaving the state maybe. He wants to go to USC, which is not a terrible choice at all. But I put USC, Clemson, because of their defensive prowess, the fact that they're going to have a room for him. Christian Wilkins is going to be gone next year. They're going to have a lot of young guys on that off defensive line. He'll fit right in there. So Clemson could be a good choice. So I'd say USC, Clemson, Alabama, and Georgia are the front runners. I'd say for that to get his services and to be able to cultivate his talents in college, because I mean that would be definitely something that could. I mean, when you have a defensive end, this is like a Jadeveon Clowney. This is like like I said, 6'5", 240. I mean, just monster. And I mean, this is like I said, Jadeveon Clowney size athlete here, as well as it's funny this because you have some guys who have also already committed as well. I mean, you have a lot of those 5-star guys have recruited. Another guy is Nolan Smith. Got to look out for him. He'll be playing at Georgia next year with Kirby Smart. So, I mean, honestly, if you're thinking defense, I mean, if you have an offer from Alabama, Clemson, or Georgia, why would you even have a decision? for any other school. I'm narrowing it down to Alabama, Clemson, Georgia. If I'm a defensive line player, you're not going to get better coaching than you're going to get with Kirby Smart or Nick Saban. And then Dabo has been able to cultivate one of the best defensive lines in the country for the last 3-4 years. So, I mean, that's kind of that's something that I would definitely look at there as well. So, for Nolan Smith, the number 2 ranked prospect, he's at the opening right now in Dallas, but he'll be at Georgia. He's already decided where he wants to play his college football. So that's one of them. So, and then also the round, it's interesting. All the top 3, that's just telling you what the premium in the NFL is. NFL is, because you can tell from the beginning, everything is going towards it. Yeah, college is just a stepping stone. We're all trying to get these guys. These are all number 1 recruits. They're going to have a chance to play professionally, and if they stay healthy. And it's interesting to see the top 3 ranked guys are all defensive ends, and that's going to show you that if it's not a quarterback, it's going to be a guy who's going to go after the quarterback. And that's how the college has tried to adjust that a little bit by making quarterbacks, getting more mobile quarterbacks, getting guys who can move around, get them more elusive. NFL, it's more like pocket passing, pick your spots, be a surgeon in the pocket, trying to pick apart that defense. So what do? You get big defensive ends to disrupt the passer, put pressure on the quarterback, and you see 3 guys right here who, in the next 3-4 years, could be doing that very easily in the NFL. I mean, you look at the top guys who've been drafted in the NFL. I mean, Bradley Chubb, Myles Garrett, Solomon Thomas, DeForest Buckner. I'm probably forgetting a couple of them off the top of my head, but it's your pass rushers. I mean, look at the Saints. They went up and traded up to get the guy from UTSA. And we didn't think he was going to be up in the first round, but he's a pass rusher. He's a very good pass rusher, athletic guy, long arms. And he was the Saints' first round pick. So, I mean, you can find him anywhere. It doesn't matter. You don't, like I said, you would like to go if you're recruited, if you're highly touted that high out of high school and you have a chance to go to those schools and you're defensive end. I'm saying, yeah, Georgia, Clemson, and Alabama, go after it. But you saw Bradley Chubb. He went to NC State. We had a guy from UTSA. We had, Solomon Thomas and DeForest Buckner. DeForest Buckner went to Oregon. Solomon Thomas went to Stanford. So, I mean, we've had a bunch of guys. Myles Garrett, Texas A&M. So, I mean, we have guys come out of the SEC. We've had Deron Payne come out of Alabama just this year. So, I mean, there's guys out there, but it's interesting to see how everything is kind of going that way. So, I mean, top 3 guys are all defensive ends. It looks like that they're obviously, when you think about the defensive ends, who's going to block them? Who's the top guys? You want to put best on best. This is the whole point of this, the opening showcase camp kind of thing they have here. You got to be able to put best on best. As you look like that. So it's going to be who's my guys that are be blocking the tackles at the block. Also represent the next 4 rankings. So the next 4 guys are all the tackles who have to block those guys. So one of them is Keon Green. He's going to go to Texas A&M. So there you go. Big guy for Jimbo Fisher to use. I mean, hopefully he can get a quarterback back there. They still haven't kind of figured that out at Texas A&M. Alabama got Pierce Quick. So that's another guy. Actually, Alabama, Pierce Quick is going to be an interesting little addition there. He's going to be able to play under with Jonah Williams, who's been at Alabama for a few years now, as he is the guy. Look at these guys. He's 6'5", 284. This is monster. He's a senior in high school. But yeah, no, he'll be working with Jonah Williams probably on that defensive line, on the outside defensive line. Jonah Williams going to Folsom High School. Go Bulldogs. But so you gotta like that. Then you got uncommitted guys. You got to watch out. Darnell Wright is uncommitted. He is, he's still He's still looking at a bunch of different schools. Oh my goodness. He's probably got about 10 schools on his list. Maybe more than that, as he's a highly top. I mean, you look at this. I'll list them off. You got Penn State, Oregon, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Nebraska, Miami, Maryland, Marshall, LSU, Louisville, Kentucky, Georgia, Florida State, Florida, Clemson, and Alabama are all schools that he's considering. I mean, you probably can narrow that down to like 5 schools. I'd say probably Clemson, Florida, Florida State, Georgia, because he has both Florida schools on there. He probably wants to play Florida. He has Miami on there too. Ohio State, Oklahoma, and Penn State, and then Alabama. Marshall, NC, UNC. He just made visitors, but that's what he's deciding against. And he's the 6'6", 300-pound offensive lineman from Huntington, West Virginia. So, I don't even see West Virginia on here. So he could be deciding to go. Oh, there it is, West Virginia at the very bottom. I didn't realize there's 3 more: Tennessee, Virginia Tech, and West Virginia are also schools he's looking at too. So he's going to have the pick of the litter right there. I mean, that's 20 schools. 20 schools he's going to pick between. Have fun with that one, as Darnell Wright is still uncommitted. All right, we'll come back and do some more recruiting talk, because there's a bunch of guys who, I mean, this is a cool weekend. We got a bunch of all 11 of the top of the 5-star recruits are in Frisco this weekend, and they're working out right now. Actually, they're in Dallas. So, I mean, they're here today. They're there today and tomorrow. So we'll be talking about them on the next segment as well. So everybody stay tuned.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, welcome back. GSMC Football Podcast, the college football edition on a Monday today here. Just going over some of the talk prospects for next year, actually, as we have, it is recruiting time. That's just kind of the time where we get into these guys that are going to their senior years in high school. We still have one more high school season to go, but they still get to decide where they're going to be. They're going to be courted. I mean, these are when they're top ranked recruits. It's kind of the next level already. I mean, because the class of 2018 is already either going to be enrolling early and has done spring ball, or guys that are going to stay in high school and graduated in May or June are likely coming now into going to campus and getting ready for if they're going to. I mean, the thing is, that's the thing. That's tough. I know there's guys who are going to be graduating and going to school in the fall and also playing the graduated high school in May or June and just have this quick little off-season summertime to get ready. But these days, if you want to play as a freshman, if you're looking to play as a freshman, if your coaches expect you to play as a freshman, they're going to try and get you to graduate early. And a lot of these guys are graduating in December and they did graduate in December of 2017. And then they come in, they enroll early, they enroll in the spring of 2018, and then they have spring practice and are able to actually get going. So you have a lot of these guys. There might be freshmen coming in at fall 18, but they've already been there for a semester. And we've even seen JT Daniels. I mean, he's not even a senior yet, and he's reclassified. He would have been on top of this 2019 class as a quarterback, but obviously reclassing and going in the 2018 class to get to USC now, seeing there's an opening. I'm like, yeah, you don't want Jack Sears or Matt Fink to try and get a little head start. If it was say they have a crazy good year this year, all of a sudden they're the starter next year already, boom, and now you're fighting already. Why don't you, I mean, it's pretty smart, honestly. Why don't you get in there and show them what you got before they can, I mean, get in there while the uncertainty is still at its highest point. So, I mean, you're still uncertain about Jack Sears, you're still uncertain about Matt Fink. Why don't you get in there and stir the pot a little more before they get the head start on you that they were going to get if you had stayed in the class of 2019. So not a bad idea there for JC Daniels and his family, assuming he already did come out and say that he had already done everything he wanted to do in high school. I mean, he's already started 3 years, I think, he's at Mater Dei, and he already started 3 years there. So, I mean, he's like, I'm done. I've done everything I want to do here. I'm ready for the next level. And, his coaches at USC, they believe it as well. They think he's ready for the next level for sure. So, let's go back to our recruiting talk for 2019. I think I was talking about Zach Harrison. He's the number 3 recruit, 3-ranked guy. And he's the defensive end who is going to be he's not committed yet either, so I don't think I told you guys. He's looking at Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, so looking for Big Ten. I mean, this is a guy, he's 6'4", 244 out of Ohio, Lewis Center, Ohio, so yeah, this is a guy who's going to make some noise as well in the Big Ten, as he's a big defensive end. All top 3 guys defensive ends, and you have the next 4 guys are your tackles. And then so I talked about Kenyon Green, talked about Pierce Quick, Darnell Wright's uncommitted. He's got like a basket full of schools he's deciding over. And then you have Devontae Dobbs, who's already decided he's going to be playing at Michigan State, and Big Ten guy, so he could be blocking against his I'm going to say counterpart, but his fellow top 10 recruit in Harrison, and being the guy to block him. So I mean, you have Harrison's going to be an interesting talent, as you have a guy who's uncommitted. He could be Ohio State, Penn State. I mean, Michigan. You could be on either side of the rivalry there, or go to the Nittany Lions. But yeah, so you got Devontae Dobbs, who'll probably be blocking him sometime soon. This is interesting because you don't really hear about these guys that often. Who's that when you watch on Saturdays? I mean, now with this recruiting much more invisible, we have these events like this we're doing right now down in Dallas. That it makes these guys more visible, makes some names maybe more common. And when you hear about him in college in the next couple of years, like, oh, I know that guy. He's pretty good in high school. All right, so next up, top 3 guys. Obviously, like I said, all defensive backs. All defensive ends, and then we have our tackles, and then we have another defensive tackle actually on the defensive side, interior lineman. That's Isaiah Sofster, who is going to be uncommitted as well. Is another 5-star recruit, uncommitted, deciding between another plethora of schools. I mean, Alabama, basically all the whole SEC pretty much, except for Texas A&M. And then a couple schools mixed in there, like Oklahoma, Penn State. I don't know, Texas A&M's on there too. Look at that. Basically, the whole SEC, minus like Missouri. That's just interesting. And then he's got Miami on there as well as Oklahoma, and also Memphis as schools in Florida State as well. So this is a guy. He's 6'4", 330 interior lineman out of Amite, Louisiana. He's still undeclared yet. But I mean, this is the sure size. 6'4", 330 pounds. He's got a 5'5", 740. He's going to only get faster and get more lean there. And then you have the center, who actually usually is going to be one-on-one with this guy, Ishmael, is going to be Clay Webb. They've done a lot of one-on-ones. Webb is very high on Alabama. He's considering telling that with Solskjaer, considering LSU. So you could be seeing these two guys playing against each other for real on Saturdays. For sure. I mean, Clay Webb, this is a guy, a center. He's from Oxford, Alabama, 6'4", 307. He's really high. He said on Alabama. He's also considering Auburn, Clemson, Florida, Georgia Tech, Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Tennessee, and Texas A&M. Oh, what a life! I mean, just to have all these blue blood, true college. American red-blooded universities trying to. Recruiting or selling you or trying to sell your highly sought after player like that, especially a lineman, a big center like that. I mean, 6'4", 307, and you have the cerebral ability. You played center, and which takes a lot. You got to know blocking schemes. Obviously, it gets more and more complicated as you get along in your career, but. What a nice little setup to have that as ability to be highly sought after like that. So, like I said, Sofster and Webb could be guys who could be playing against each other, not only in this one-on-one workout, or it could be also on the field down at Death Valley in Baton Rouge, or at our state in Tuscaloosa. So you never know. All right, another one, as we have another one. This is more of the top 5 guys. So we have 5-star guys we just went over. As we have still outside of the 5 stars, we have 59 of the other top 100 prospects are going to be at this event. That includes the number 1 ranked quarterback of this class. That's the guy who's going to be going to Oklahoma, Spencer Rattler, as he's the QB. He's already picked Oklahoma as his school of choice. He's from Phoenix, 6'1", 130, or 130. No, that'd be bad. 6'1", 173. As he has run a 4.88 in high school. He's committed to Oklahoma, the dual threat guy. So, Oklahoma might need him next year, actually, sooner rather than later. You think, because you think, oh, we have Kyler Murray, we're fine. Kyler's going to take care of us. No, you got Kyler for like 1 year. You know that, right? I mean, Kyler's going to be. I think Kyler's going to be gone after that 1 year because he's going to play baseball, and you're going to be having another freshman come in Spencer Rattler, who I think he'll be probably just fine. As you have another talented guy coming right in to take over for Lincoln Riley's team. Another quarterback we have to talk about. We have a South Carolina commit, Ryan Helinski. Wisconsin's commit, Graham Mertz, and Auburn commit, Bo Nix, are also guys. And they also have Jaden Daniels, who's uncommitted right now. He's looking at a bunch of different schools. I mean, you thought that the lineman's guys list was long. Holy moly. Jaden Daniels, his list is quite long. As you thought that Kaon, or who was that one guy who was uncommitted? Darnell Wright. Yeah, you thought his line 20 schools. I think Daniels has got 25 schools. He's got basically the whole SEC and all the Pac-12. And Alabama, Arizona State, Cal, Florida State, Georgia, Illinois, Indiana State, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, Ohio State, Ole Miss, Oregon, Penn State, Syracuse, Tennessee, Texas A&M, USC, Utah, and Washington State. So like I said, pretty much the whole Pac-12 except for Stanford, and then a few Big Ten schools and a few SEC schools, and a few ACC schools mixed in there as well. So, I mean, Nevada and New Mexico, I mean, yeah, you got offers from them, but I mean, these are all guys, all those schools have given him offers as he's still uncommitted. But, I mean, this is a quarterback, 6'2", 157 out of San Bernardino, California, dual threat guy, and went to Cohen High School, which is a very good football school there. So, definitely a highly touted talent there. Looking at some of the other quarterbacks, obviously Spencer Rattler is also a dual threat guy. We had Ryan Helinski. He's going to be at South Carolina. That's more of that pro style offense. I'm thinking that maybe is going to be more of that pocket passer. Yeah, so Ryan Helinski's more of your pocket passer. He's 6'4", 222 out of Orange, California, Orange Lutheran High School. So you have more of a pocket passer going out to Columbia. And then Graham Mertz for Wisconsin. He'll be probably the next guy after Alex Hornibrook. Is also your pocket passer, because it's kind of what they look for there. He's out of Kansas, Overland Park, Kansas, 6'3", 205, a guy out of Kansas. So yeah, that's who's going to be going to Wisconsin. And then Bo Nix is going to go to is at Auburn. That's what I'm thinking, more of the dual threat guy. As let's see here, he's classified as a pocket passer, so he's kind of like a Jared Stidham, maybe another same kind of thing, guy who can pocket pass, but also, have the mobility to just at least move around the pocket a little bit better. As he's from Pinson, Alabama, 6'2", 204. He'll be a senior coming in. These guys are all going to be seniors. These guys are all juniors in high school. Just finished a junior year in high school, which is absolutely insane. And they'll be coming in as seniors coming this year. As they got one more season to stay healthy and get to your college and show out and do the best you can to get to the next level, obviously. So, I mean, as far as guys who are uncommitted, who are going to be in attendance to this the opening thing for Nike, obviously we talked about Thibodeau and Harrison. They are 1 and 3. They have not picked yet. Then you had our quarterback we just talked about with. That was Jaden Daniels. He has not picked yet either. So right now, looks like that we have a guy, Daxton Hill. He's the number 14 recruit He's this is a guy who is 6'1", 187 out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. I mean, it just says athlete. We don't have a position. Is he not positioned? I mean, I'll probably say running back or receiver, as he has offers from another 30 more schools, as he actually has narrowed it down, though, to Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma State, Michigan, and Ohio State. So this guy is an athlete. So he's not, whether it's going to be running back, quarterback, D end, D back, defensive back, or something like that. You're going to have to, it'll be up to the coaches to figure out what he's going to be doing. And then also Wisconsin, as far as guys that haven't decided yet, we have a receiver, Marcus Washington. He's a number 15th ranked prospect, as he's from St. Louis. Has not narrowed down his choices yet, but he has offers. As he's number 15 ranked from St. Louis, but we'll see where he's going to be signed to go, as we're going to be seeing him at this showcase as well. And then we have the number 1 guy in the running back class. It's Trey Sanders. He's also uncommitted. He was committed to Alabama at one point, but he's decommitted from there, at least verbally, and is now back to deciding whether he's going to do Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma, Florida State, LSU, and USC are also contenders as well for the number 1 ranked running back in the class. That's Trey Sanders. All right, that'll wrap it up for this segment. We'll come back and do some talk on, this whole second segment. I want to just do a third segment. I want to talk a little bit about culture, football culture, and especially college sports now that we have this transfer rule. We have, which has been like reinstilled and just solidified. And we also have the redshirt rule as well as we're getting into this just whirlwind of sports here in coming up to the month of July. I know it's kind of that little lull in June and July where it's basically just baseball and golf for a while. NBA free agency is going on right now, but we're going to be all football all the time as we get into the next month of August and then into September, which is really the start of our favorite time of the year, football season. So we'll be right back after the messages, so stay tuned.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA Podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, welcome back to GSMC Football Podcast, the college football edition on Monday today. Here, as we did the first 2 segments on some juicy recruiting news. Some names for you guys to remember in a year's time from now. That's what's going on right now. There's an event in Dallas. We got to cover it, and we're in the middle of the spring football and fall practice sessions before we get into the season. So it's recruiting time. When I think about recruiting, I think about all these young guys, and we talk about CTE and the issues regarding football, and the fact that football is getting to the culture now of uncertainty and of people coming out and saying, 10% of mothers to keep their players from playing football, and we have ex-players coming out and say that they don't want their kids to play football. So, it's an industry. It's not going anywhere. If we're talking about juniors in high school and sophomores in high school who get evaluated as well, and ESPN keeps making their rankings, and Rivals.com keeps making their rankings, we keep paying attention to all these. There's a guy who has 25 schools bidding for him, pleading for him. And you think the basketball is the same way. All these schools fighting for a handful of players. they're going to hopefully change the course of their programs for the few years that they're there. But I mean, you have a situation here where we're talking about young kids who still have developing brains, who could be undergoing life-threatening injuries, and we're all worried about whether they're going to get a meal or not from a coach. And we're worried about a booster paying for their parents' car payment or whatever it might be. I don't care what it is, whether it's a gift or something that a player needed. I don't care. We're all worried about that. We're worried about, is it the scandal, the rules? Don't break the rules. Reggie Bush gets his Heisman taken away because Pete Carroll bought his parents a car or a house, or whatever they bought. I mean, I'm very much pro players being stipended somehow. We've already come out and talked about a little bit regarding how players probably are barking up the wrong tree regarding the fact that they want to get paid. You're going to have to start paying taxes if you get paid. Obviously, they'll have to figure out a way to offset it with your scholarship. But I mean, these days when we're worried about player safety, and then we're also worried about guys and who's going to be playing where. You have to kind of take things in perspective. Know that there's a culture, obviously. Know that there's an instilled system where people can kind of put blinders on and they forget about a Tyler Helinski. I don't think they forget about Tyler Helinski. I mean, I don't want to bring that up. That's definitely too. We talked about that last week, and that was a segment that I felt like I needed to bring up because of the fact that there was the news coming out. It was worth reporting. It was necessary to reported. But, I'm not going to say people forget about it. I'm going to say people kind of tend to put blinders on sometimes because they don't. It's called being ignorant, or not ignorant, or just ignorance is bliss. Or I don't want to think about it. I want to just do my job, make my money, recruit my players, and move along and play some football. I mean, it's a terrible thing to try and point fingers at things, which is not what I'm doing here. I'm not trying to point fingers at anybody, but I'm trying to say that even with all of this CTE talk, all of this talk on whether coaches can be ethical or not, it's still a billion-dollar industry where teenage players are being evaluated and they're having their lives planned out for them, and they're having all this stuff laid out for them in front. As obviously they're talented. They worked hard for it. They want it. Believe me, I've talked to plenty of high school players coming out of high school looking to go play D1 football, D1 basketball. Doesn't matter. They want it. They want it bad. They love their sport. I played baseball all 4 years in college. In high school. Went to college for a little bit. Played baseball. There's a love for sports for collegiate sports, especially in our country. Right? It's ridiculous. It's a culture. It is the culture. It's kind of fascinating how, obviously college sports, the beauty of college sports is you have a stadium that can hold 80,000 people in Lincoln, Nebraska. You have a stadium that could hold 100,000 people in University Park, in Pennsylvania, in the middle of nowhere. You have a stadium in College Station, Texas, that could hold 106,000 people, Kyle Field. It's just ridiculous sometimes. Obviously, it's just a number of people. You can pack these stadiums full. We're all crazy. But it's all in the middle. Like all those cities I just mentioned, they're not big metropolitan areas. It's not Philly. It's not Dallas. It's Nebraska. It's the middle of Pennsylvania. It's the middle of Texas. It's everywhere. It's small areas that could house maintenance. And the thing is about college is that it's not just, I'm a Niner fan because my dad was a Niner fan. No, I'm a fan because I went to the school. I am a California Golden Bear. I'm Bears. So I go Cal. I went there. I am one of them. They just happen to be on the football team. So it's a situation where, it's instilled into our lifestyle. Our fandom is instilled into our culture as Americans and as sports fans, just in general. But you kind of lose sight of the fact that this is an industry where guys are getting picked out of their high schools and picked off of high school fields, and their moms and dads are being talked to at an early age, and Nick Saban's going into your house and dancing with your grandma so he can get you to come play football for him. They do everything they need to do. It's everything they do, and there's things that definitely get lost in this culture. Sometimes, we don't want. Who wants to think about negative things? You don't want to think about negative things. It's things you have to take into account, and things that we need to address, and things that we need to change. There needs to be changes. I mean, I know everybody's like, oh, the NFL's ruining football. They're going to change all these rules. We're going to start playing flag football pretty soon here. One thing I have to say, flag football is awesome. Never knock flag football. My position was always that flag football is a great way to start learning the actual X's and O's and technicalities of the game versus just, I'm going to hit you as hard as I possibly can. Let's use my size to beat you, which is what happens a lot of the time. To actually learn the finesse part of the game, the actual the ins and outs and the intricacies of the game can be learned through flag football. And you could do that until you're, 7th, 8th grade, even freshman year in high school, and then go play football, go play high school football. You'll get plenty. There's enough tape. There's enough Twitter out there. There's enough phones. Have your mom or dad stand up on this grandstand and film you. Or, I mean, if you go to a good enough school, they're going to have film for you because they're going to want to watch film after a game anyway. So you could send your game film. You have plenty of time. It's not like I need my freshman highlights to send to Nick Saban at Alabama. No, Nick Saban wants to see your junior highlights. He wants to see your sophomore highlights if you made the varsity team as a sophomore. So, I mean, there's so many different things that we kind of forget about, and we're like, oh, we just want to get Johnny to the best school we can. Well, we also want Johnny to be able to say his name when he's 6, 7 years old. I mean, we also want him to be able to have a prosperous life if he's not one of the 1% that actually can get through college and play in the NFL. I mean, we want him to have a good education. That's what I mean, if I was one of these kids, I mean, I would want to, obviously, hopefully, you want to play football. You're like, oh, I'm just going to play football. No, you're going to do everything. You're going to learn. You're going to become a human being, a man, a member of society. I mean, there's a bigger picture. I know I'm probably going way overboard. It's like, oh, Tom, it's just a game. It's just a game. No, these are kids. These are young Americans. These are young kids. That kid, yeah, he might be 6'5", 280 or 300 pounds, like I was oogling over in a few segments ago. But I mean, these are kids. These are kids, and when we have issues happen, it just puts things into perspective. And remember, okay, yeah, this is not just a game here. This is people's livelihoods, your families. I mean, you go and listen to the parents of Tyler Helinski and knowing that his mom's going to be asked questions that are like, really going to ask that? Do you think football killed your son? No. What? It's tough things to answer. I mean, what? She said no. I mean, I know that's what she said. I don't know if that's really what she believes that, because it's easy to point blame at things, and you lost your child, and it's a devastatingly horrendous thing to have to undergo. But the fact that they went in the media and got on TV and were able to open their voice and try and start voicing up things regarding CTE and then issues like that, maybe it's going to change the culture a little bit. That's all you can do. It's all you really can do as a parent, as a coach, as an administrator, as a fan. You can try and make things more, make people more aware, change the culture a little bit. We love football. Believe me, I've been talking about it for how long on this show with you guys here? And I've been saying every time we can't wait till August, can't wait till September for week 1 of the season. I'm speculating all these games, who's going to win, betting lines, blah, 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 all this stuff. You kind of get forgotten that, especially in college sports, when you have all these kids out there who you don't know who their names are. They're just wearing the school that you like to watch. They're wearing the crimson tie. They're wearing the crimson and white for Alabama. You are an Alabama fan. You're a Michigan alum. They're wearing the blue and yellow. Go Michigan, go blue, and whoever that is, he's doing good. So I would stress, if you're a fan, go get educated on these players. Go get educated on the player safety, what they're doing to try and help keep guys on the field longer. I mean, that's all we want to do. We don't want to see guys get hurt. Fans don't want injuries. That's not fun. Best ability is availability. It's a part of the game, yes, but now we're kind of getting washed over. We're getting almost growing too many calluses and becoming too used to these injuries. I mean, there's injuries all in every sport, I know, and it's becoming more and more, for some reason, becoming more seemingly more common. Even though I know guys are coming back sooner, and we have all these advances in medicine. Well, what about preventive medicine? Is my question. So, I mean, there's definitely things that we need to address in the sports industry, especially college sports. College football is going to be the one. We're not going to see any changes until college football leads the way. because we've already seen college basketball and their pit of despair with everything, the fact that they get the FBI involved. And I get it. We're going to talk about it a little bit more in the next segment when it comes to recruiting and why it's so crazy to have 20 different schools fighting over you. Like, what do you think those schools are going to do? I'll save that for next segment. But I just urge you guys, help. I mean, not help. I don't really want you guys to do anything. Football is fine, but just become more aware. Learn about the culture. Learn about what's going on. Learn about all this industry of recruiting where you're evaluating juniors in high school. And then, of course, in the NFL and everything, Mel Kiper, blah, 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 the draft. But just become more aware, and maybe even we'll try and evolve a change to get more safety involved, to get these guys, the powers that be, to be more aware. I mean, the NFL has been doing a cover-up job for about, 20-something, some odd years now, as they had already known about this issue with the brain injuries. That's what's going to have to do. They're going to have to put a layer of something under the turf to try and to help cushion these blows, because that's where you're seeing a lot of concussions happening because of hits to the ground versus helmet to helmet hits. But I mean, it's a culture that we're kind of evolving into the fabric of football in itself. Just these head injuries, and we shouldn't just be like, oh yeah, it's another concussion, no big deal, just another concussion. No, it's a big deal, and we need to definitely take those. I know the concussion protocols and everything, but same thing. The more it happens, the more glazed over we get when we talk about it. So we need to definitely be more aware and be more serious when it comes to having to deal with these head injuries, as we do every year. So we'll wrap it up and we'll come back with the next segment and talk a little bit about more recruiting stuff, some of the recruiting rules around, and how sometimes, it's amazing how these rules don't get broken all the time, and how schools can fight against each other for these top prospects and still manage to stay within the guidelines of the recruiting process. All right, we'll come back after the messages. Stay tuned.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered. Listen. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right, welcome back to GSMC Football Podcast, the college football edition, the final segment of the day today here, as we've done some talk on the recruiting, as well as some talk on football culture and how we love football, we love our fans, we love all the camaraderie, college game days, awesome. It's just but it's just amazing how just every year it just never fails that whether it's injury, I don't want to be Johnny Raincloud. That's the last thing I want to do. I love football. I want to keep reiterating that. The fact is that it's not Johnny Raincloud over here, but we just sometimes we could love the sport, love it all you want, but just don't put your blinders on. Don't be that rah fan. Just be the one who appreciates the game, appreciates the sport for what it is. We're so lucky in this country to have college sports be so appreciated and so loved and cherished. I mean, it's something that you don't see very, very much around the world, but especially the widespread ability that we have to be able to have. I mean, some of these states have multiple major schools that can put together programs and have all this history and be able to create opportunities for these young kids to succeed in whatever. Maybe look at the Pac-12 itself. Pac-12 is known as the Conference of Champions because, I mean, while the football might not be the most successful lately, I mean, USC has had success in the past, but and so is Stanford, but not as lately. But they look at other sports, look at other things: soccer, tennis, golf, women's sports, women's soccer, women's basketball. I mean, swimming, everything. Some of these schools are just amazing. It's these other sports, and we kind of forget about them because college football is so crazy. And that's why we're like, oh, college football, they pay for all the other sports. That's why we can't pay players. But we can pay we can do something when we were trying to recruit them. I just don't know how we don't get a scandal every single year. How a Reggie Bush issue does not happen every single year. Whether they figure out the best way possible to stay within the rules and still try and show how, whether you're going to go off the full merits of your college or the full merits of your campus and coaching staff and other things. I mean, whether you're trying to get on every single selling point possible. I mean, so these talking about major recruits here. I don't know so if Alabama doesn't get hit on every one, is it really going to hurt them? Are they going to lose in the future because of that? I don't think so. I think they're going to be just fine. It's not going to hinder their program in the long haul anytime soon. They'll get somebody else, but for other programs like maybe like a Texas A&M who's trying to get back up into the fold, so they could like a huge commitment for them would be great, or a Michigan who's trying to get up and beat Ohio State for the first time in Jim Harbaugh's reign. They could be in a position where they might be pressured to need to get a guy, because there's definitely schools like, oh, we'd like to have him. We're gonna put our best foot forward to try and get him. We'd like to have him, versus schools like, we need him. He is going to change our program. This is something we've been waiting for. Okay, how do you make yourself? How do you tell the play? I mean, you obviously tell him that, but he's like, yeah, that might be true, but that means that you need me more than I need you, and now I have a leverage, which he had already. And you're letting a family of and a 17-year-old decide. By the way, possibly the future of your program. You think you want to have a little more input in that, right? Right. So whether it's financial input or it's other kind of influences that it might be, or gifts or something like that, whatever it might be, a sort of influence that might be against the rules. I just don't know how it doesn't happen for schools that are like, I was looking at some of these guys that have offers. Like, this guy has an offer from all the SEC schools, and then he also has one from Marshall and Memphis or something like that. I'm like, really? Does it cost you money to offer somebody a scholarship or no? Or just trying to do that for publicity sakes, or like, what's the deal here? Like, what do you think you have a chance? Like, this is ridiculous. Some of these top recruits obviously are going to get courted by every single big school, big program in the nation, every big visible coach in the nation. Why do you think you have the chance to do that? Like, why do you? Oh, we're going to go offer this guy a scholarship. I'm like, whatever. You just want to be on the list with an Alabama and a Clemson and a Florida State or something like that, or a Michigan or Ohio State if you want to do something from and Oklahoma. So I know and also, of course, every school gets evaluated on which recruits they actually do get, even though it feels like it's totally a crapshoot for recruiting, right? I mean, the guy's got 20 different schools. I mean, you really, okay, even if he narrows it down to 5, okay, you still got a 20% chance of getting him. Do you think you can, how do you think you can up that? Just based off of reading his mind, or saying, oh, you like this one better than this one? Okay, give me some insight here. Like, what can we think? What are we thinking? Like, really? It's a shady business. It's shady business, and it's something that we don't really know that much about, especially college, whether it's high school basketball. I mean, college basketball recruiting or football recruiting, doesn't matter. It's really tough. I'm like, how do you negotiate with these people? Like, contract negotiations, pretty similar. I can give you more money than they can. Okay, come play with us. We have LeBron James just went to the Los Angeles Lakers because it's LA. We have a better, I mean, that's actually, if that's anything, that's actually a good comparison to what these college kids are having to deal with, because LeBron knew he was going to get his money. It's not about the Lakers offering more money than the Cavs. He actually could have got more money from the Cavs if he stayed in Cleveland, just for this analogy's sake. But he came because of the city, because of the draw of the culture of the area. So that's kind of similar to where you have for college basketball and college football, where it might be, yeah, the team and the coach and everything, but what if that guy really wants to play in really wants to play in Miami, wants to be in the town, loves the culture of the town. The guy really wants to play in Austin, Texas, loves Austin, Texas, so he's going to play for UT. So, I mean, there's lots of different reasons, but it's just fascinating sometimes seeing these lists of schools. I know they usually do narrow them down to like a top 5 or top 6. But then still, those top 6 are probably like all red-blooded American colleges that they're expect to get you. Basically, they have a fan base, they have boosters that put a lot of pressure on these whether it's talent evaluators or coaches or AD to try and get this done. And I don't know, especially for a new coach like Nick Saban. I feel like Nick Saban doesn't owe anybody anything. Nick Saban can go out there and if I get you, I get you. If I don't, I don't. I'll go dance with your grandma. I don't care. I'll try and get you. But I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting seeing how it all works, especially with how you have to make an offer and have to get these guys so early in their high school careers and try and convince them throughout their junior year and senior year of high school when they're at interesting levels of their age. I'm sorry. It's just fascinating sometimes talking about it. It's like, really, they have to, it's just all these schools. How do they not break the rules every single time? Like, how do they not do that every single time? And I feel like that they would, especially for a school who could be changing the course of their program if they get one player, a quarterback or something like that, or a running back, top guy. I know all the top guys right now are linemen, which is great. I love it. By the way, love it. Love the top 3 guys are defensive ends. Love the next 4 are tackles, because that's what I've been preaching this whole time on the show, is that college football and football in general, even the NFL. I know the NFL has great quarterbacks, and sometimes the quarterback play can overshadow things and actually make things a little more irrelevant when it comes to line play, because we have so many good quarterbacks like a Carson Wentz or a Russell Wilson who can get out of there, and even when they have a bad line, or like Russell Wilson who had a bad line last year could still do a little bit. But in college sports, it's very quick pace and a lot of like not very deep color route trees and anything like that. It's a lot of quick pace and like first read and everything. So line play is huge. The split second you can give longer for your quarterback, the faster you can get to the quarterback as a defensive end. I mean, it's huge. So I love seeing that the next crop of talented guys who are heading that ESPN Top 100 are all linemen, because that is college football, line play. Line play is college football. That's why you see Bryce Love, or I mean, they might be all talented as all heck. Bryce Love or even a Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, even Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, yeah, they're all talented as all heck, but they are made. Their talents are there, but then their performance is very much pumped up because of the combination of their talent and the talent of the line that they're running with, and the fact that they have all this room to run around as well. So I mean, love college sports and love college football. Love watching the trenches in college football, because these are 22, 23-year-old kids. Number one, they're huge. They're giant humans, and they transcend the laws of physics. It seems like being able to be that huge and run that fast. You see some of these DNs that are coming off the ball. It's just ridiculous how fast they can get off the line on a snap, or even the same thing with an offensive lineman. How fast they can pull a pulling guard, pull out there and get out there and blow somebody up, a cornerback, something like that. That's one of the most favorite. That's one of the most favorite plays to watch in football, is a screen play or like a swing run, or running like a swing pass or a pitch or something like that, where you have a guard pulling and he gets to block a corner or a safety coming down on run support or something like that, and he just blows him up. It's just hilarious seeing this huge 300-pound guy come up and blast a 190-pound, 220-pound guy. It's pretty funny, and it's one of the great cool parts of the sport that gets kind of gets lost, because everybody loves offense, everybody loves sacks and big plays on the field. Look at some of these plays that you don't really, they don't get the middle part of the screen. Look at the outside part of the screen when you're watching football. Sometimes some of the blocks you see, some of these designs, some of the side tackles you see, I mean, everything is really cool, and all the ability, all the intricacies to getting an offense gunning, because I mean, there's nothing more fun to watch in football sometimes than a offense that's in sync and works well. So that's something that all these college coaches are trying to get, and it's like I said, starts with line play, and it's great to see the top 7 guys, and maybe 9 or 8 of the top 10 guys are all linemen, and defensive ends or defensive linemen are huge in college football, because these quarterbacks are getting rid of the ball so fast. So the faster you can get to the quarterback, the better, because they're getting rid of the ball really quickly with these quick little plays. They're not really like NFL quarterbacks where they're going through 2, 3, 4, 5 progressions, depending on how many receivers obviously they have on that set. So it's definitely a big part of the college football game. All right, we've come to the end of the show today. So it was a pretty busy show. We went through a lot of different stuff regarding the 2019 recruiting class. Next up on Wednesday, we're going to look a little deeper into some of the stars of this coming season. I know we looked at some Heisman hopefuls, but we're also going to go. We've gone team by team as well as the outlook for this year. I want to look at some more schedules as we come closer and closer to week 1 of the college football season. And we'll also do some predictions as we look at our rankings and seeing, okay, who's going to move up in week 1, who's going to do what. I know last week I did talk about some week 1 picks as well, so we'll go over those again and talk about some implications regarding, okay, this team needs to do this to get to this point, because college football, your season can be make or break, made or broken in 1 week, which is pretty interesting and pretty awesome to see. All right. We'll be back on Wednesday. Everybody have a good beginning of your week. Happy Monday. Talk to you later. Bye.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.